Dessert wines are cropping up on menus all across the country, becoming increasingly a popular way to end a meal. Now I'm going to talk about two types of dessert wines today, fortified wines and late harvest wines. First, the fortified wines. You know them as port and sherry. Let's talk a little bit about port. Port is made in Portugal in the city of Porto, which obviously makes some sense. What they do is they ferment the grapes halfway through, so there's residual sugar left in the juice. To that residual sugar in the juice, they add a grape brandy, and that raises the alcohol level in the port to about 18%, or it can even be more than that. Then it starts to age in barrels. Tawny port can be aged for 10, 20, 30, even 40 years in a barrel. Then it is bottled and sold, and it can be quite expensive, as you might imagine. Let's talk a little bit about sherry. Sherry is made a little bit differently. Sherry is actually fermented to dryness, meaning all of the sugar is fermented out of it. At that point, brandy is added in, a grape brandy, and it raises the alcohol level in the wine to about 15%, which is typical for a sherry. The other main difference is that sherry is made from just one grape, the Palomino grape, whereas port is made from multiple varieties of grapes. Now, at that point, it goes through a complicated blending system called the Solera system. But what the Solera method does is allow for consistency from year to year. The one type of dessert wine we can make well in the United States is late harvest wine. And that is, as the name suggests, where the grapes are actually allowed to stay on the vine well past the ordinary harvest time. That enables the sugar in the grapes to actually get concentrated. So when you ferment the grapes, not all of the sugar ferments out. It doesn't go dry. And that's where we get the residual sweetness and the sweetness of a dessert wine. Now, the other type of late harvest wine is where the grapes actually stay on a lot longer, to the point that they freeze. That's called an ice wine. They're harvested frozen, sometimes in the middle of the night. They're pressed and fermented like every other type of wine. But the concentration of sugar makes it a much smoother, silkier type of wine. So as you can see, the process for making dessert wines is a little bit more complicated than making an ordinary table wine. That's why it costs a little bit more in the store to have a dessert wine or on the restaurant menu. But it really is worth it and it helps to make the meal.
A copy of the program you've just seen can be purchased through Penn State Media Sales at mediasales.psu.edu or by calling 800-770-2111.